The recreational skipper's ticket is based on a standard, and a skipper must be able to demonstrate it. After the assessment of each task, the assessor must offer feedback to applicants on progress towards competence for the ticket. Assessment may only be undertaken in a suitably equipped vessel. All instructions must be clear, and no instruction or coaching may take place during the assessment. Practical assessment may be conducted as part of a course or as a standalone item. Note that the theory paper must be completed before the practical assessment.
Good morning, my name's Rod and I'll be taking your practical assessment today. Do you have your application forms, ID and any additional forms with you?
Yes.
Only applicants who have already been successful in the theory component may be assessed practically. ID must be checked again.
Thanks, Ray.
The assessor must fulfil the occupational health and safety obligations to applicants. There will always be a safety brief before a practical assessment takes place, and applicants must never be in doubt about what's expected of them.
Thanks, Larry.
During the assessment, I'll be watching you skipper your vessel. To pass, you have to show me that you're driving to the standards for the RST as set down by the department. Unsafe skippering is considered a major breach and is unacceptable and will result in immediate failure at any stage during the assessment. One minor breach of Task 1 is permitted. If two minor breaches occur, the assessment will be terminated. 2 attempts are permitted on all other tasks. All criteria must be met in a single attempt. Following 2 attempts, if all the criteria are not met, the assessment is terminated. The assessment will go for about 45 minutes. During the assessment, I'll give directions to dock, complete a man overboard, etc. At all times, follow the collision regulations. If at any stage I haven't explained things well enough, please let me know and I'll run through it again. I can repeat instructions, but I won't be telling you how to skipper. Please note that I'll be recording information as we go. If I write something down, don't assume you've made any mistakes, because I'm also recording the good things you do. At the end of each task, I'll give you your result and information on how you skippered.
Now if anyone needs a toilet before we start at any other time, then they're over behind me. Does anyone have any mobility problems for getting into the boats?
No.
Any other medical problems that I should know about?
No.
These are the boats we'll be using during the assessment. You'll be able to drive and get familiar with them before we begin. Would you like to check over them before we start?
Yes.
I'll get down first, if you'd like to follow me in. Ray, if you'd like to put your hand here, step down. And Laurie, you too. You can check over the boat.
The assessor will need to check that the vessel being used complies with the Marine Act, and then will explain how Task 1 is assessed. During the entire assessment and the performance of all tasks, the applicant must obey the relevant marine safety rules and regulations. He will be continually assessed on these criteria: that the applicant minimises the vessel's impact on others and the environment, applies the marine safety rules and regulations, ensures the vessel and equipment are maintained to a good working condition, monitors the safety of the vessel and people on board at all times. Task 2. Berthing mooring equipment. Criteria: the applicant demonstrates that their vessel's mooring, berthing equipment is appropriate and serviceable by checking berthing mooring lines are in good condition, checking berthing mooring equipment is sound and secure, securing the vessel using the mooring lines and cleats.
Ray, I want you to show me the vessel is secure and your mooring lines and equipment are in good condition.
The vessel needs to be secured well enough that it will come to no harm if it were left for a few hours or more. Criteria met.
Well, the ropes are the right length for the job. They're thick enough for easily handling and strong enough to do what they're required to do. There is no sign of any UV damage on the ropes at all. The cleats are welded to a thickened metal piece here, and there's no sign of any metal fatigue on there either.
Well, Ray, are you happy that your vessel is safely secured?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Okay, Laurie, are you happy that your vessel's securely moored?
Oh, this line's a bit crook. Is it all right if I climb aboard and change it over?
This applicant failed on the first attempt to secure the vessel. The assessor gives another opportunity to demonstrate the complete task. Task 3. Safety briefing. Criteria: the applicant communicates their knowledge of the vessel's safety equipment for the area of operation and ensures that the information is understood by all persons on board by identifying the type of required safety equipment, identifying the location of the required safety equipment, verbally checking that the information is understood by all persons on board.
Okay, Ray, you're about to undertake the third task. Please conduct a safety briefing for the area we are operating in.
Okay. In here we've got quite a bit of safety equipment. Okay, we've got an EPIRB, 2 parachute flares, 2 handheld red flares and 2 smoke flares. Okay, under here we have a 27 megahertz marine radio set on channel 88, which is our emergency and calling channel. Here we have a bilge pump, which is both manual and auto. And at the bow we have an anchor with sufficient line. I've checked it's not tangled. And we've got a life jacket for every person on board.
The applicant has demonstrated all the safety equipment on board the vessel. However, he's only required to demonstrate the equipment for the area of operation. It could be that the only safety gear required for the area is a bucket.
Ray, are you satisfied you've completed the safety briefing?
The skipper has forgotten the third criterion. He has another opportunity to complete the task.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't ask if you understood.
Please do the task again.
Okay.
Task 4. Motor checking and starting. Criteria: the applicant demonstrates the pre-checks and safe starting of their engine by fuel system, checking for fuel fumes, only on inboards, checking fuel lines are connected and if fitted fuel cocks open, checking the amount of fuel. Not all the criteria apply to all motors. A candidate must fulfil all those appropriate to the boat in use. This is an outboard boat, so fuel fumes are not an issue. On an inboard, checking for fumes would at least involve lifting the motorbox and sniffing the bilge. Criterion met. Cooling system. Checking coolant levels are sufficient, if fitted. Checking engine cooling intakes are open or clear. The outboard does not have a coolant level system, so this criterion does not apply to this assessment. The applicant needs to ensure that the intakes are clear. Criterion met. On an inboard, the assessor would need to see the header tank being checked if a heat exchange is fitted, and a check that the seacock is open. Electrical system. Check safety lanyard is securely connected if applicable. Criterion met. Startup. Ensure motor is in neutral. Immediately prior to starting, ensure it is safe to start. Start the motor. The candidate checks the gear lever for neutral.
Is it clear down by the prop rod, please?
inspecting the area near the propeller and engine to ensure the area is all clear.
Yes, Ray, you're clear.
Criteria met. If the motor had not started, then the applicant would need to repeat the task. Task 5. Voyage plan, signing on. Criteria. The applicant communicates by radio or other means the voyage and vessel details to a responsible person by notifying them of vessel's name, registration or call sign, departure time, departure location, destination, trip intentions, number of persons on board, amount of fuel carried in litres, estimated time of return.
Okay, Ray, please log on for our voyage.
The plan must be lodged with a responsible person, which may include a simulated radio call to sea rescue. Could be written out or spoken.
Okay, how far are we going from the jetty?
The applicant may ask for trip information. The assessor will only answer specific questions.
No more than 500 metres.
Okay. We'll go through Victor Lima Whiskey 6474, call up Fremantle Sea Rescue, and indicate that it's now 10 o'clock and we're leaving the jetty at East Fremantle, travelling no more than 500 metres from the jetty, and we should be returning about 10:45. We're doing an assessment for our recreational skipper's ticket.
The applicant failed to mention the number of people on board and the amount of fuel on the first attempt. He has another opportunity to complete the task.
You haven't listed all of the elements. Would you like to have another go at it?
Yes, I would.
Okay. Let's please complete that task again.
Okay.
Task 6. Departing a berth. Criteria. The applicant safely departs a berth by checking that it is safe to depart immediately prior to departing, allowing for the effects of winds and current, departing with little or no impact, not impeding other vessels, using appropriate revs, demonstrating smooth and timely use of gears, ensuring that mooring lines are stowed, replaced, secured.
Your next assessment is departing the berth, so please depart the berth.
Okay, good. Could I get you to drop the stern line, then the bow, and just give us a gentle push off, please?
There is no single acceptable manoeuvre for departing a berth. It's up to the skipper how he or she achieves it. However, all criteria must be met. The skipper is checking all round that he'll cause no interference to other water users.
Okay, Ray, bow line's free.
The boat is on the downwind side, so the skipper's using the wind to take him off. This is
All right, ready to
acceptable.
go.
He has failed this criterion because he didn't allow for the swing of the stern. He's used too many revs and he's impacted heavily with the jetty. He has another opportunity to complete the task. On his second attempt, the skipper has successfully met the first 3 criteria. Criterion 4 is also met as he has not impeded other vessels.
Push us off, please, Rod. Thank you.
Task 1 criteria must be complied with during the entire assessment. By giving way to the crossing vessel, the applicant has demonstrated safe skippering and continues with the assessment. The ropes must be either stowed inside the boat or tied off in some way that they cannot trail in the water and foul the propeller. This can be done by the skipper or by another person directed by the skipper. Criteria met. Task 7. Retrieve a simulated man overboard. Criteria: the applicant demonstrates their competent manoeuvring of the vessel to retrieve a simulated man overboard by immediately turning the vessel toward the man overboard. It swings the stern away. Simulating the throwing of a floating aid. Ensuring a visual watch is maintained on the man overboard. Completing the turn so as to retrieve the person from downwind. Approaching at an appropriate speed. Positions the vessel downwind of the man overboard. Turns the engine off before retrieving man overboard. Ensures the man overboard is retrieved. This task will be carried out in open water well clear of other boats.
Okay, Ray. I'm going to throw a simulated man overboard over the side and I'll shout man overboard.
Yep.
When I do, I'd like you to retrieve it using the man overboard procedure.
Okay.
The assessor is responsible for choosing the place and moment for putting the man overboard.
Man overboard.
The skipper must initially turn the vessel towards the man overboard.
Okay, don't take your eyes off him. Can we throw a buoyancy aid to place?
The skipper may delegate crew to carry out tasks such as maintaining watch and throwing a floating aid. These are two distinct criteria from the point of view of scoring negatives, yet they should take place at nearly the same moment. The skipper must approach the man overboard heading into the wind. The direction of waves or flags or the feel of air on your face will tell you what the wind is doing. The skipper should be straightening up so as to pass near, not through, the man overboard. Appropriate speed is slow. There must be no use of the engine within 1 boat length of the man overboard. The engine must be turned off prior to retrieving the man overboard.
Well done, Ray.
Criteria met. This example fails. The speed is excessive. The skipper has approached too close. And the engine has not been turned off. Task 8. Determine position by using navigational marks, transits and other landmarks. Criteria: the applicant demonstrates the ability to communicate the vessel's position using landmarks and navigational aids and steer a transit by notifying the assessor of the 2 objects that align to fix the vessel's position, using the transit to steer a steady course for 30 seconds.
Okay, Ray, can you please select the objects you'll be using for your transit and then steer a steady course along it until I say stop?
The choice of transit objects is up to the skipper. There might be nav aids, or as informal as buildings, conspicuous trees or sand patches.
Okay, well I'm using the forward, for my forward lead, the starboard marker up ahead of us, and then the 3 lights up on the hill in the distance. That's what we're going to line up.
Great. Please steer a steady course for 30 seconds.
Okay.
The assessor is not looking for perfection. If the leads drift slightly, so long as the skipper
Okay,
takes
Ray,
corrective
thank you. That's
action,
30
the
seconds.
criterion is met. Task 9. Controlled stop. Criteria: at a speed of approximately 5 knots, the applicant demonstrates the ability to safely stop the vessel within 2 boat lengths by checking that it is safe to perform the controlled stop, shouting a relevant warning to the crew, reducing revs, engaging neutral gear, engaging reverse gear, using appropriate revs to stop the vessel, stopping the forward motion of the vessel within 2 boat lengths. The assessor will choose a piece of clear water for this and will tell the applicant to get the boat running at 5 knots. Slightly slow is okay, but certainly not faster.
Okay, Ray. When I say stop, can you please bring the vessel to a complete stop within 2 boat lengths?
Okay.
The assessor checks for all clear.
Stop now.
Okay, hold on.
The skipper looks behind to do the same. Criteria 3 and 4 must be made as two distinct movements, one into neutral, one into reverse. The boat stops going forward in under 2 boat lengths. Criteria met.
Thank you, Ray.
Task 10. Vessel is safely navigated and secured alongside a berth. Criteria: the applicant demonstrates their competent manoeuvring and securing the vessel by checking that it is safe to perform the manoeuvre, not impeding other vessels, selecting the appropriate side of the vessel to come alongside as a result of wind and current observations, approaching the berth at an appropriate speed, approaching the berth at an appropriate angle, demonstrating smooth and timely use of gears, using appropriate engine revs, arriving at the berth with little or no impact to vessel and structure, securing the vessel appropriately with mooring lines.
Okay, Ray, please navigate the vessel to the jetty and secure it alongside.
Checking that it's safe to perform a manoeuvre and not impeding other vessels are not identical. Checking that it's safe is not necessarily referring to your encountering other vessels. Here is an
I'm
example.
just waiting for the wash of these boats to go by.
Having indicated the berth, the applicant needs to consider the effect of wind and currents in order to complete the task successfully.
And I'm going to head up